This video is a synopsis of the book Epistle of the Corinthians to Paul. As I had stated in an earlier posting, that Paul had, in regards to Paul and the Corinthians, there are 6 correspondences, and this correspondence comes from the Corinthians to the apostle. In the first, of course, correspondence, it is the apostle who writes, and this one, the Corinthians respond, of course, to him. In the letter, the Corinthians respond by, of course, articulating themselves in regards to now doctrine. And this letter informs, of course, the normative in the Common Bible is referred to the First and Second Corinthians. But this is the second letter then, which was written to Paul by the church. So the first letter was Paul writing to the church just to check on them. That is to say, a correspondence between the two. Then the church responds to them, to Paul in this letter, the Epistle of the Corinthians to Paul. And then you would have what you've already received, Corinthians, which then would be actually a third and fourth correspondence between the pair. In this, however, letter, which is then the second letter, second correspondence between the pair, the church tries to gain ground as to the teachings which they were initiated into by the apostle, and those which they found were growing in their environment in Corinth and other parts. These now being that such questions as raised by the very problematic prophet, a false prophet, Simon Magus, or Simon the magician. Now, these questions now delve into doctrine. So Paul had come and he had brought him the truth and love of Christ. And then when he left them, of course, he writes them a letter, a nice letter, that has nothing to do with doctrine. And then the next letter they write him, they are concerned about the things they're hearing and they're not so sure about certain things. And so they are responding to him to ask him what is actually happening, what's true. And again, Simon Magus was a Jew and he was not a Christian, but they were being contended against by this Jew and his teachings. Now, the teachings of Simon Magus, of course, included, that is to say, the articles which God was not almighty, and that, of course, he was Jesus Christ, that the resurrection was false, that Christ himself, when he was crucified, was not. These are now these assertions that also Christ was not did not die, and that Christ was not truly bodily incarnated. Therefore, he could not be the one that died, and therefore he was not, since he was not bodily incarnated. Also, the assertion, some of the assertions were that the angels created the world, and that it was not God that created the world, and that the in relation to Christ, the prophets were inaccurate. They were incorrect. So so this becomes the debacle between what they've learned from the apostle and what they now are hearing, and so they articulate it to him so that he may see and hear what the things that are hearing and the things that are said around them that affect them, and they want answers in regards to these things and want guidance and assurance from him. Is this the development of the doctrine? Is it where it goes? And are these contradictions real? So the church is in a debacle, so they write to the apostle. And it must, of course, felt like a shock to the apostle who had left them at a certain position and taught them. And then to find, after just checking on them, that the respondents is fiercely doctrinal and that they are being challenged on what he had given them. This then would inform how one reads First and Second Corinthians, and why Paul in those particular texts, which I'm not dealing with, is a bit aggressive. This, of course, is a beautiful text. As you watch the questions which are facing the church, and the church in Corinth graciously and almost anxiously ask these questions as honestly as they can to the apostle. It is not a strange scenario, whether, for example, in church context or in just life generally, where promises are always shaken. But the good thing about these people, they then ask their bishop in Paul or their pope in Paul, which is, Sir, can you balance us, if you'd like to use that term? Can you balance us on these issues because we are being challenged here and there. And of course, the as you know in First and Second Corinthians, the apostle responds. So we have this here, this beautiful text. Unfortunately, this text has been removed, as you know, from your common Bible, so it does take away from the essence of these beautiful questions and the debacle, of course, which was happening between Paul and Simon Magus and Barnabas and the rest of and Peter, of course, the rest of the disciples, and how huge Simon Magus was, and how like he was becoming ever so popular, and he was a real contender of Christ. Um, May the Lord bless the reading of His word. May the truths which He has laid out for ourselves and for you in particular in this text, may you find them as He continues to lead you. I am happy to have been of service to God for you, and I thank you for your time, and may God bless you as He has so far done. Thank you.